Hi, welcome to Community Enrichment. I'm Roberta Martin, your host. For the past few weeks, we've been looking at how to grow a business. We talked about how to start a small business, and in doing so, we looked at certain things like getting into strategic business, such as thinking about going into tall man clothing or Chinese restaurant or Asian market. And today we want to just focus our attention on how to maximize the business. And so with me today is a gentleman by name Richard Senya, and he is a branch sales manager with one of the largest financial institutions in our country. Gentlemen, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Would you do a little recap on some of the things we talked about when we were talking about how to start small business ownership? I know that we looked at things that we go through, things that we think about when we establish these things. For us, for the purpose of those that were not with us, would you mind doing a little recap on that so we can continue from where we left off?
Certainly. I know that last time one of the things we talked about was how to start a business. Now that you have the vision of what you want to do, what are the necessary steps you take? And also when you are even thinking about the business itself, what are some of the things you should be aware of, and what are some of the things you should begin to consider as you think about going into the business. I gave some examples about typically, starting an African restaurant, and I talked about the fact that Africans traditionally like to cook from home and eat. So if you're going to go into a business selling food and your mindset is that you're going to be selling to people from Africa, you might want to reconsider, because the target audience are people who like to eat from home, and therefore it might not be a good business opportunity. Not that you can't do it, but in terms of sustainability and keeping the business afloat and continue to grow the business, you might struggle because you're targeting people who naturally like to eat at home. So those are some of the things we talked about last time.
Okay, and so for those of you that were not here with us, I think that you catch up from where what he said. So now I think we want to look at how to then maximize. So now I have the business. How then, because one of the major things in business is to maximize. So if I have to maximize, then let's look at some of the strategies that come to play when we talk about maximizing. I know that people talk about location and product. So if I have to maximize a business, where does location come into play, and where does product come into play?
Well, obviously, whatever business you are in, you are either selling a product or service, in which case you are still selling something. So whatever you're selling is very critical. So in terms of the product itself, it's what you are selling. You can go into business to sell anything, but if people are not interested in buying what you are selling, you really are not going to make nothing's going to happen to you. In fact, you might fail in the business and you might be disappointed. Besides that, I can't think of any other thing you can gain from going into just about any business. Sometimes the lure of I'm going into business, or the prestige that seems to come with I own my own business, seem to crowd a lot of people, and so they don't think about, well, what exactly am I selling? Even if it's service, what service am I providing? And is somebody out there who needs this service? If you have a product or if you have a service to offer and somebody needs those things, then you are in business. Then potentially you can't go into business. The aspect of location is very critical because for example, if I have a clothing store, and I open the store maybe maybe at the back of my neighborhood, not at a strip mall, not at the mall or anything like that, but at the back of my neighborhood, where the only thing there is a playground. I'm in business, yes, but will somebody see my business? Probably no. So whatever business you are doing, you have to determine the location by what you are trying to do. And also, the people, your target audience, where they tend to move about a lot. So typically, like on the Brooklyn Boulevard, for example, is a good business location because the boulevard is very long, and everyone who is looking for anything is always driving on the boulevard. And so having a business on the boulevard is very important and better than having a business maybe down the road on the Zane. That doesn't mean there's not anything wrong with the Zane. Mm-hmm. It simply means that whatever you're selling, you have to be in a position where people can see.
Right.
If they can't see it, they won't come to you.
Okay, so with that said, let me ask you a question. So for instance, I live in a countryside. Okay, living in a country is more quiet. A country is more full of people that, let's say, people that are old age, 60 plus and over. And so are you saying that because this kind of neighborhood is more quiet and it's not more population, but even the population that live there are more age-wise, people that are older, does it mean that if I live in such kind of a community, I won't be able to maximize if I have a business down there?
Well, the internet makes everything possible these days. So where it may be where you will be lacking in terms of location, the internet now makes it possible, because the internet gives everybody equal footing, irrespective of where you are. If people need the services or the product you're offering, once they see your address, I'm sure they'll drive to you. But going back to the scenario you gave us about the countryside and older folks and things like that, it depends what you're selling. If you're selling things, if your target audience are older folks, then that's a good place to be at.
So then that means that my population, my location also come into play when it comes to product then?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. It's very paramount. If I'm trying to sell to people who predominantly go downtown, hang around downtown, shop downtown, eat downtown, I have to pitch my business, if not downtown, closer to downtown, because my target audience are there.
Right.
So you go to where your target audience are. It's an old business strategy, but it's an effective business strategy. You go to where your audiences are. Okay. It's very important we do that in business.
All right, let's take a look at what is called an alliance. When we talk about, because we hear a lot of people talk about alliance in business. So I'm following the strategy that you're talking about. I have my location, I have my product. Still, however, I am still not able to see profit. I'm not maximizing, I'm not growing. So maybe I'm thinking about emerging with somebody else. Okay, do you think that that is a business strategy? First of all, would you even describe what or explain what an alliance is and give a little description of it and then move?
Okay, so strategic alliances, collaborations, partnerships are all necessary in business, and they are good business strategies to have. But there is a process to these things. You don't just get up to want to form an alliance with somebody. So obviously, whatever you're good at, you partner with people who are good in something else. So my wife owns a small business. My wife has her own fashion label, Ethel Riches. She's great at what she does. She's great at designing things. She's great at cutting the patterns, sewing them. She's great at all those things. But she needs the exposure. And I believe she linked up with you at some point.
Absolutely.
And you opened some doors for her. You showed her some areas and some people she can connect with. That was an alliance.
Right.
She had something, she needed something, you knew something, and you also needed somebody who knows how to do something to link them together. Right. And you were able, with your knowledge, with what you know, with her knowledge, with what she knows, both of you came together and you were able to effectively promote what she's doing.
Right.
So she was able to demonstrate what she has with you at some avenues that you created for her. And you also had the opportunity to see what she has to offer and show to your audience as well. So these are collaborations. These are alliances we form to get things done. It's a mutual beneficial, strategy that you put together. I need this, you have that. You need this, I have that. So we come together and we put our resources together. What I want to do, what you want to do, and we're able to do something great. When it comes to small business, maybe you're good at selling what you have to offer. But for example, there are people who are great with online, designing websites and things like that. You have to work with these people. A lot of the time, we want to be jack of all trade, master of none. We need to stop those jack of all trade things and hone in on what you're good at as you do your business, and find people who are great. It may be marketing, form some type of alliances with them or pay the money necessary to get them to market your business.
It sounds like very interesting. You know, it sounds like very lovely, but I'm wondering if it's that easy. So I have a tomato business, you know, I mean large scale, you know, or strawberry large scale, and maybe you have some type of clothing business, and you particularly is looking at specific people, let's say large size, okay, plus size, and you decided to go into plus size. But here, in terms of my tomatoes, I have to do the business in terms by looking at temperature, okay, because we live in a country where the temperatures are not the same all the time. So there comes certain times where the tomato business will go down because of temperature or because of the season that we are in. So I decided, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to merge with you because in terms of your business, it has nothing to do with temperature. You know, plus size is plus size. People come in and they just buy what they want to buy. But is it that easy? I mean, what are some of the challenges that I can think about, or what are some of the challenges that I need to be aware of before I form an alliance with somebody like that?
So, first of all, when you're trying to form an alliance and go into any kind of maybe partnerships or collaboration with another company or another business or whatever, the first thing you need to do, you have to have the same mission for it. I mean, like you rightly said, what does a tomato, somebody who either grows or sells tomatoes, have in common with maybe somebody who wants to do plus size clothing? We don't have anything in common in terms of business.
Absolutely.
You know, we can learn the basics of business together, but what I sell and what you sell is different. Who I'm targeting is different from who you are targeting. And so that, for example, I don't see how that can be a good alliance for you as a business owner. You don't just do it because people say it's what you should do. Instead, if I sell tomatoes, what I'll be looking to do is probably what are the chances of me linking up with somebody who maybe a salesperson or a sales organization that sells maybe utensils to these businesses, to restaurants and things like that. Because those are the people I want to go after with my products. So I can link up with such organization because as they go and see their clients, the restaurants, they can mention that, hey, by the way, there's somebody here who also offers tomatoes.
Right.
So in case maybe they want to do maybe salad or they want fresh tomatoes for their for their food or whatever they're doing, it can be a good door opening for me to be able to get to these clients and offer them my tomatoes, or even get to talk to them about it. But somebody who does clothing and me who's selling tomatoes, we're doing something completely different. You know, and I'm glad that you brought that question up, because a lot of the time we hear some of these concepts and we want to go out and want to do. We don't take time to research what are the benefits for me as a business in forming these alliances. What am I getting out of this? We don't take time to assess and evaluate all those things. And so then the conclusion is that I go in there, I don't get anything out of it, and so I'm disappointed. Even though at the time I heard it was a great idea.
So when as I listen to you, I think I'm hearing strategic planning. You have to know what you are getting into. You have to understand even the kind of person that you want to, align with.
Absolutely.
You have to strategically plan in order to get into these things.
Absolutely, because when you form an alliance, it's important to make sure that you both have the same mission.
Okay.
The mission must be the same. There has to be trust. You have to have the same mission. You have to trust each other. You know, we have to be willing to forgive each other in case at some point in the, during our relationship or during the alliance that maybe I do something that is not, it's not pleasing to you. We have to be able to forgive each other and to move on. We have to give each other the benefit of a doubt to know that we are all pursuing the same interests. So these are all necessary when you begin to think about forming alliances and things like that. It's very important. You have to ask yourself, what am I getting into and what am I providing? So you must be willing to give the same way you are willing to get.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a good business strategy, but there are some challenges, right?
There are challenges. Mm-hmm. I mean, in everything there are challenges. I mean,
right.
If it's easy, everybody will be doing it.
Absolutely.
But I think that a careful study, a determined intention to get it right, and a willingness to succeed I believe will make it possible. You know, and even when it comes to forming these alliances, you know, talk to people, talk to experts, talk to people who are good in, you know, bringing people together. There are people out there who have money looking for a place to invest. There are people with great investment ideas needing money. When they come together, these are all alliances.
That's right. Okay, I hear about merchant service, and I hear that merchant service is also another good business strategy. Can you tell the audience, as well as myself, what is a merchant service, and how does that influence growth?
Okay, so merchant service is a service that the banks offer for people to be able to accept debit and credit cards for their business. Some places you are even able to accept things like gift cards and things like that for your business. We know statistically that when you every business that, you know, give customers the ability to swipe their debit cards and their credit cards and things like that, people tend to buy more. You know, so, and in this day and age where the teaching is and the common, the common consensus is that it's safer to carry the card than to carry cash on you, because of course when you lose cash, the money is gone. When you lose your debit card, you call your bank, you put a stop to it. You order a new debit card.
Well, let me ask, with that question, with that said, let me ask you this. What happens to those that don't have good credit? Because after the bailout, you know, after the auto industry crashed down, we realized that a lot of people, you know, the market industry went down, you know, businesses went down. People lost their credit cards. People lost images, you know. So let's say 60% of the people in the country don't have good credit. So if merchant service then is a good business strategy, what about the rest of the population that don't have good credit? How does the bank, in that case, since you work in the bank and since you're a sales manager, how does the bank help people like that that don't have, you know, good credit, however, are interested in merchant services?
Well, the merchant service for the business owner, the person running
for the
business
owner.
For the customer, you have either your credit card or your debit card. Either of them you can swipe to make purchases.
But how about, so we're looking in terms of the business owner, because there are some business owners too that have even filed bankruptcy.
Yes, that is true. In my organization, for example, we do everything we can to work with businesses to offer them the ability to accept, to have merchant processing equipment in their businesses, because we know that's very critical to the growth of most businesses these days, to be able to accept and process payment via merchant service, you know, via those equipment that we have out there. So we work with customers to provide them that. There are private companies out there who solely just sell merchant equipment, and it's just a matter of contacting them, getting the right one in place. That is also another thing, because a lot of the time people get into all these contracts and things like that, and it's very difficult. I always tell my clients, I always tell people that I know who come to me about their businesses that walk into a branch, walk into a bank, find out about their merchant processing. That is much better than some guy that just walked down to your store, you know, from nowhere and offered you a merchant service, because then you find yourself in a contract that you can't get out of.
Can you tell the audience how so if I say, do I have to be, what is the criteria to doing that? I have to be a person that saves with your institution?
You have a business. So when you want to have merchant service, one of the things as a business owner you want to ask yourself is cash flow is very important. You have to ask yourself this question. The service you're providing me, this merchant service you're providing me, when will the funds be available? Okay. In my organization, for example, you swipe your card today, by tomorrow morning, the funds are made available for you to use as a business. Some places you have to wait longer for the funds to be made available. So if you look at it, the business that I made yesterday, the things I sold, people swipe their card, but tomorrow I can replenish the stock the stock that I sold, because I have to wait for the merchant processing to hit my account, the money to hit my account before I can go and buy. Whereas some organizations like mine will make these funds available for you the next morning, so you can go ahead and buy stock and replenish your stock.
Excellent. Another thing I hear business people talk about a lot is the niche of business. What is it all about?
Okay, I thank you for bringing that question up. I think last time one of the things we talked about was, for example, the restaurant, and we mentioned the fact that if you're a restaurant, your target audience. And niche is simply identifying a gap in the market, an opportunity in the market that has not been tapped by anybody. So you mentioned a plus size, for example. So you go into Macy's. Macy's now are beginning to realize that there is a little niche out there. So now Macy's have a plus size division where you walk into the store, you might find a place where specifically for plus sizes and things like that. So it's about looking at the, maybe everybody is offering to A and B and C, but nobody's selling to D. Or there is a combination of a C and a D that nobody's reaching out to. When you identify that and you tailor your product or service to them, you've identified a niche in the market and you are positioning yourself to that niche.
How does that maximize, profit?
Well, it's a great thing to do because every business out there, you are not out there to sell to everybody. You can't sell to everybody. You can't target everybody for your products and services. So it's good to identify a niche in the market to go for it. There's a lot of businesses out there. So ask yourself, what are these people lacking? What is it that these people need that nobody currently is meeting? What needs do I see that nobody's meeting those needs? And what is it that I want to offer to this particular need? When you do that, you've identified a niche in the market, and then you position your products targeted at the niche that you have uncovered. It's very critical. You look at the Brooklyn Park area, there's a lot of people from African descent in the Brooklyn Park area, from Liberia, from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Togo, from predominantly the West African coast a lot of the time. There's a lot of Kenyans and things like that. All these people, they have some needs, but they are different. But maybe it's possible that maybe Ghanaians and Nigerians and Togolese together have a particular need. That becomes a niche. Mm-hmm. And you want to reach out to that niche. So then whatever you're offering that you think they need is tailored for this group.
Specific group.
When you do that, you've identified a niche. And as a matter of fact, it's a good thing to do. I would tell everybody who wants to go into business that don't go in there until you've identified a niche. You can't sell to everybody. Not everybody will be interested in what you're offering. When you do that, you spend too much and your returns are very limited. You get very little out of putting out so much because you are trying to reach out to everyone. When you can tailor your goods and services to a particular niche in the market and hit it, when you do that, that's good.
I also hear about what is called seasonal business or seasonal growth. So during the Super Bowl, mm-hmm. I sat in front of the television and I was looking at these things, and I realized that there were so many businesses that boomed during the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And I realized that these particular businesses that were mentioned were not the regular everyday business. So tell me about seasonal business.
Well, seasonal businesses are businesses that springs up depending on the seasons we are in. So, for example, there's a lot of snow plowing companies out there. Let's face it, their business, the service they are offering is only needed when we have snow. Now, one of the things that those people in those businesses have been doing lately is that they also go into landscaping. So during the winter, my snow plowing business is viable because as long as there's snow, that service will be required, will be needed. But in the summer months, when we move into spring, into summer, nobody needs snow plowers. Right. Because there's no snow anywhere. So then, that season of snow plowing is over. So if all you offer is snow plowing, once we pass the snow season, in other words, your business stops.
Now, how does that, I understand that then, but how does that play in the area of growing a business? Do you think that
if you are into snow plowing,
right?
If you are into snow plowing, what you can do in addition to the snow plowing is to actually have maybe like a landscaping business
in addition
on the side. In addition to that, so when the snow seasons are over, landscaping is what's next. Now people want their houses to look beautiful. They want their gardens to look nice. So that time, those services are required. So once we pass the season of needing the services of a snow plowers, we move into the season of landscaping. And as long as there is a demand for landscaping, your business will have something going. As long as you market yourself well, you have something going. You know, so that's a classic seasonal business. Because when the snow starts falling, nobody's interested in landscaping. And when the snow ceases, nobody's interested in snow plowing. So if you are into that business, you have to be able to ask yourself, am I viable throughout the year? Or am I only viable seasonally? Now, if you are just offering, for example, if you're landscaping, you can, and all you want to do is landscaping, you can also set up a business in maybe Florida, not just in Minnesota. So typically when the snow hits Minnesota, you pack up your equipment and then you move to Florida.
Okay.
Because maybe there will be no snow in Florida, so your services will be needed. Just like sidings, people who do sidings and little constructions here and there. Winter months, nobody's going to be changing their roofs. But in the spring and in the summer, all the damage that were done as a result of the snow, people need those services. So a lot of the time, we see a lot of businesses, people opening up businesses and starting up businesses in the spring into the summer, and then you see a trend of people closing down business accounts towards November, December, because by this time it's starting to get cold and nobody's out there doing any work outside and things like that. So typically those are the seasonal jobs. But as a business owner, you can't just depend on maybe plowing snow. We only plow snow maybe 4 or 5 months in a year.
Right.
After that snow season, what do you do?
So for a business owner who is, for instance, a seasonal business owner, like a snow plow, for instance, have to strategize by adding another type of business to it, like what you said
growing,
earlier.
Yeah, and that will be a form of growth.
Right.
That will be a form of growth because once upon a time, your business is only viable 4 months in a year. But now you've added another 6 months because of the fact that you are now able to do landscaping. You are now able to do maybe siding. Maybe you are now able to do roofing. So there's demand for your services all throughout the year.
And as you're doing this, you are, of course, maximizing as well.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about and things that, you know, because when we talk about small business ownership, people think about merchandising, you know, marketing, huge market, a huge factory and things like that. How about the things that people don't talk about? Like somebody who is a welder, you know, somebody who is a fitter, somebody who is into, you know, auto industry in a small business way, you know, in a small way. Like, let's say, for instance, somebody who fixes a hood or maybe fixes anything on a car, you know, or somebody, you know, those type of small things. How does somebody who is a welder or somebody who is a painter of a car, you know, paint cars, or maybe an engineer? I mean, when I talk about engineering, I'm talking about somebody in a small type of engineering, you know, working on little small stuff. How does somebody like that maximize his business?
Okay, so I think when we began, one of the things we talked about was the internet. The internet has made it very, very possible, has leveled the playing field in terms of the ability to market your business and expose yourself.
Right.
Okay, every business that is out there meeting a need, as long as people know there's a need, they'll come for it. Let me give you an example. I was talking to a friend of mine who recently changed her hairdresser.
Okay.
And she found this new hairdresser. She found this person somewhere down in Hopkins. And she said that, oh, I've heard that people from the Dominican Republic are great when it comes to doing hair. And so I was Googling hairdressers from Dominican Republic, and I came across this one. There's only one in Minnesota, and I came across it, and I called and I set up an appointment. I went there. I love what she did, the way she did my hair, the way she cut it, the way she did this, the way she trimmed it, and you know. So instantly, I was thinking to myself, wow, if this person had not advertised herself, put herself on the internet, she wouldn't have noticed. Yes,
right.
But because she put herself out there, somebody was searching for somebody who does that kind of a business, called her and set up an appointment, went over and did her hair, and now she can't stop raving about her. So now she's telling her friends about this lady who is great at doing hair. And this is some of the ways small businesses grow. So first of all, she got herself on the internet, set up a website for her business. somebody was searching, so they came across her business. They called, they set up an appointment, they went there, they did it. And now this person is telling her friends. And I'm sure she will get some referrals to go and see this lady. Simply because this lady took the time to advertise herself. A lot of the businesses, people from Africa, only businesses on the Boulevard, for example, don't have any internet services. They don't have a website advertising their businesses. Not everybody know about them. So suppose somebody have recently moved into the area, want to buy maybe something from from Africa. If they Google African stores in Broken Park, then maybe they might not see anything.
With what you're saying, let me ask you this. So technology is changing the way we do business.
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Absolutely. It's changing the way we do business because it's leveling, like I said, the playing field a little bit, so to speak.
So it's making it even more easier. But how many population
I would say it's making it easier, but what I would say is that it's making it possible for us to appeal to a wider section or a wider audience than we may not have if we don't tap into it. But having the technology is one thing. Tapping in and leveraging it for the benefit of your business is another thing. And so here we are. If you are in business or you're trying to go into business, you also have to consider, how can I leverage technology to reach out to my audience? These are legitimate questions to ask yourself as you plan your business.
I have a grandmother who is into making her own type of hats. Okay. And so she lives in Manchester, and she makes hats.
Manchester in England?
In England.
Okay.
And she makes hats and stuff like that. She is a conservative type.
Okay.
Okay. This woman is not so too conversant when it comes to technology. Mm-hmm. And I know there are so many people like that here in the United States. What do you say about a conservative woman who is smart, intelligent, and everything, but not very, smart when it comes to technology, because she want to stay conservative? And here you are, we're talking about how technology has changed the business world. So with somebody like that, I mean, how does she target, how does she even reach out to people across, the country, or maybe across the world?
Across the world, the technology makes it possible for her to reach out to people all over the world.
How about maximizing, not even thinking about the world, but even maximizing, trying to think about growth? But here she is, she's 70 years old, and you know what? There are some people that are even 40 years old, but conservative, want to stay the old style and the old. You'll be surprised how many people want to even use the flip-flop phones, because, I prefer this type of phone, even though all these other phones are in the system, I want to use this type of phone. So I prefer this way of doing business, even though this other technology is out there.
Here's the thing. Sometimes when we say we prefer.
So what would you say to people in that category?
Sometimes when we say we prefer this way, what we're really saying is that I don't like the change. I don't want to change.
Absolutely.
So we have to be very careful. But for you, the business owner, you don't really have a choice. That is if you want to grow your business. Okay? So for her, when we began, one of the things we talked about was the alliances and, collaborations and things like that. Somebody like her can leverage that. So how about talk to somebody and say, okay, how can I let people know that I exist and I have this to offer? One way you do that is the internet. So bringing somebody on who can say, okay, this is what internet can do for you. Here's what having a website can do for your business. This is what the website makes it possible for your grandma in Manchester to be able to appeal to somebody here in Minnesota with what she's capable of doing. So if somebody here in Minnesota likes the kind of hat she makes by hand, the person can actually place an order to your grandma who is in Manchester, England. And by way of the internet, they are able to do business together. So your grandma is able to sell what she's making to somebody who would delight to wear what your grandma has to offer. But see, here's the good news. It doesn't just end there. When your grandma produces something that the person on the internet, the person across the ocean likes, in this case, let's just say that somebody here in Minnesota likes the hat. She gets the hat, she wears it, she talks about it to her friends, Before you know it, another order goes in. Because guess what? As she's wearing it and people say it's nice, she's getting on the phone, she's getting on the internet, placing more orders. And as people like it, she refers them. They get in touch with your grandma. Your grandma now is able to sell to other people because somebody in Minnesota saw her on the internet, saw the website, liked what she saw, placed an order and received it.
I was also thinking about, how about bringing in young people who are smart? Because you earlier on said something to me. If you don't know how to do certain things on the phone, get the young people. Get a young, so how about, a lot of older people like to quilt a lot. I have a friend who is 70-some years old living in Michigan. Okay. And all she does is sit and quilt. And sometimes I will ask her, how about putting it on the internet? Oh, honey, I don't want to do that kind of stuff. So how about those type of people, you speak to them about getting in connection with the younger youth or the younger people or the youth who are smart in this area of technology. You talk about collaboration, to connect with them to be able to get your business to grow.
Well, see, so typically, for example, people doing embroideries and things like that, you can have someone, you can have a younger person record, even with their smartphones, record you and put it on YouTube.
Right.
And people get to know about you, okay? But collaborating with them, and it comes down to this. If you're in business, if you consider that embroidery as a business and you want to grow it, then you better talk to somebody about technology because it's going to help you. If you just want to do like a hobby and occasionally somebody buy it because they like what they see, that's perfectly fine. But if you really want to grow a business, you can afford not to tap into the internet and what is available on the internet. Like I said, the appeal is enormous. In Minnesota, you're able to appeal to people in Southeast Asia.
Right.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. There was this little company in England. They were selling bacon, a little meat shop. The son came from college, decided that, hey, Dad, you know what, here's what we can do. Together with his friends, they set up a website for the business. The next thing, orders were coming from Korea. They have to package bacon and ship it to Korea from Scotland in England. I beg your pardon, in the United Kingdom. They ship bacon from Scotland in the United Kingdom to Korea because the son came from college and said, Dad, we can leverage the internet and make the most out of your business. And the company over there liked the package, liked what they received, and they were placing orders. The last time I heard that report, they were shipping to other companies in Southeast Asia.
So it's maximizing, it's growing.
It's maximizing, it's growing your business. Here he is, a little corner store in Scotland, and now somebody knows about his business, ordering things all the way in Southeast Asia. Yes.
Technology.
So
we can't afford to say that we want to get in business, but we want to set aside technology. It's part of it. It has become part. It had come to stay. It had come to stay.
If you want the business to grow, think about it. It's a great tool to have. Technology, the internet, is a wonderful tool. Just think about it. Here we are in Minnesota. I want to sell, maybe I make pens, special pens, and I want to sell the pen to more people. Right. Don't forget, growing your business means having more demand.
Right.
The more people demand, the more people are in need of your product or services, the more viable your business. When you get to a point where people don't really care for your products and services, you need to ask yourself, what is my sustainability? It's one thing to sustain the business, it's another thing to grow the business.
Right.
Internet makes it possible for you to reach out to a wider audience, therefore increasing your chances of demand. You're supplying something, people have to demand for you to be able to make money. So for the business owner who said that I want to set aside the internet, I just don't understand what kind of business you want to get into. I don't understand what kind of business or what kind of growth you want. Like I said, some people do things out of hobby. So it could just be a hobby, and because the other thing that comes with the internet is that if demand goes up, you're going to have to maybe employ people to take care of the demand.
Right.
So if you don't want to deal with all those things, maybe your little corner, do your little embroidery, and if somebody likes it, they buy it, or they give you $5 and you give it to them. Otherwise, you have to seriously consider the internet.
Disciplining. Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think I agree with what you're saying. If you are not interested in growth, if you are not interested in enlarging, then don't think about
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, do it for a hobby or do it in a small way where it is just, you are just limited to just a group of people.
Yeah. Maybe
You know,
some
I
people,
wa- I
that's
want
what
us
they want
to-
to do.
Okay. I want us to go back into talking about this niche thing that you mentioned about.
Okay.
You did describe what it is, you did mention what it is, but now I want you to focus on, tell us how do you focus on identifying that particular group of people that you're talking about? That specific niche, how does a person identify that on the market? You use Macy's as an example. So I walk into Macy's and I look around and, you know, I gaze around the area. How am I able to specifically identify that niche?
Okay. I will use a company that I know of
Okay.
back in England.
Sure.
It's called Tesco's.
Okay.
It's like a local Cup Foods. In 1991, they were the 4th largest supermarket in Great Britain. By the year 2001, they were the biggest.
Okay.
And one of the things Tesco's did was that their supply chain became a wonderful piece of ensuring that they get things to customers on time. So typically, here's what Tesco's will do. If you walk into Tesco's this evening and you say, I want to get coconut, and they don't have it, they key it into their system that you came for coconut, they didn't have coconut.
I see.
If tomorrow somebody else come and inquire about coconut and they don't have it, by the time the third person shows up looking for coconut, Tesco's will have a coconut. Because Tesco's know that customers want coconut. Okay, so all of a sudden they discover a coconut niche in the market.
In the market.
Okay. When you're thinking about business and going into business and even expansion for that matter, ask yourself, what is it that people are looking for? A man and his family walked into a store looking for computers and peripheries and things like computer peripheries and things, and he yelled, why can't they make these things so that an idiot like myself can follow?
He just
Somebody
yelled.
was passing by, and he heard the word, an idiot like myself. Today when you go into they have over 100 lines of an idiot's guide to everything. Now you can get an idiot's guide to creating a website, an idiot's guide to starting a business. Somebody said it in exasperation, frustrated, and yelled, why can't somebody come up with something like this? Somebody was passing by, heard it, and that was his business opportunity. There was a niche in the market for people who just want to be treated like, you don't know anything, I'm going to show you ABC steps to doing this. And they discovered that market, and they honed in on that, they researched it, and they put everything together, and they created these programs that an idiot's guide to, for example, Microsoft Word. You take it page by page, you'll be able to walk in, and if you follow through, you produce pieces of work that looks like an expert did it. But they did it, initially when they did it to targeting people who just didn't know anything. Because some of these books, the tendency is to assume that people know a little bit. Okay? But what an idiot's guide does is that it takes you to assume that you don't know anything and help you from there. And it gives people great fundamental understanding to a lot of things. That was a niche. Okay, that was a niche. You always have to ask yourself, what is it that is being offered? And how is it being offered? And does everybody qualify for this? Or, for example, clothing. We talked about the plus sizes. A few years ago, the emphasis was on slimming down and things like that. There were no plus sizes.
Right.
But Macy's began to discover that there's a market for plus sizes.
Right.
One of the reasons, what do you hear on the news? America and obesity.
Right.
I'm not trying to say that Macy's is tapping into a health issue in America to make money. No. But what I'm trying to say is that as we put on weight, what we need is that our needs will become different. And as more people put on weight, their needs will be different.
Right.
Exactly. Let me give you another example. For maybe people from Africa, a lot of them these days buy cars, send back home to Africa to drive and things like that. they have all these cars going back to Africa. Very soon, all these cars are going to need parts. They're going to need servicing. With the service come parts. Okay? So I'm sitting now, I'm listening, I'm quietly watching how many people are taking cars, what type of cars are they taking more. And I can say to myself, you know what? As they take these cars, in the next 10 years, what they are going to need most are car parts. So I'm not going to take a car to Africa. Instead, I'm going to take car parts. Because the next wave of demand will not be for the car, but for the parts. And so I go there now, I start selling car parts. And lo and behold, these people will need my parts for their cars. Right. So for example, another example is, if the number one car they are sending to Africa is Honda, I look for the most commonest problems with Honda when they start, when the car starts aging. And if, for example, timing belt is the number one problem, guess what? I will populate the market in Africa with timing belt, Honda timing belts. Because very soon, everybody who drives a Honda is going to need a timing belt. That is a niche. That's how you discover a niche in the market. And then you go for it.
That is very smart of you. When you mentioned about cars, a friend was also talking to me from New Jersey a few weeks ago, and she was saying to me, when I went to Ghana and I came back, I saw all the 300s all over the place. And he said, but they didn't have rims like you have on there. And it looked like it made the car didn't look as pretty as it was here in the United States. So my next target is try to get some rims and send it there. This is a niche then, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you said, there's something missing with the beauty as the car gets there. Because they don't have, and I noticed that they don't have the kind of rims that you have here.
That we have.
So guess what I would do? I would take a few rims over there and I'll start advertising. I'll show them how Chrysler 300 actually looks like.
In the United States.
In the United States.
Right. Then it becomes a niche.
And then, I need those things. Then they need a wheel, the alloy wheels. They need a chrome wheels. Then
you are introducing.
There you go.
That is a niche. What the people want. So being able to identify.
A niche is identifying a gap and taking advantage of it.
I want to go back to the scenario that you brought up, and when you mentioned about the guy that was yelling, just yelling, yelling that he's an idiot, and that, I wanted to say that he mentioned that he's an idiot, or whatever he did said, but very few people heard him, because if he said that in the marketplace, then it wasn't everybody that heard him. It was specific people that heard him. And those specific people then went to do the kind of need and brought that need in. But what happened to the rest? It was because perhaps it wasn't for them.
Opportunity.
Okay.
Business opportunity is conceived with the mind, not with the eyes. We don't see business opportunities with our eyes. Our ability to listen, and then as we listen, we ask questions. That's how you come up with a business. You can't see every opportunity. Listen to what people are saying. When you go into your communities, what are people's number one complaints? What are people saying? That, because
you are identifying.
People are mentioning problems. People are talking about challenges. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, all these questions, all these challenges, all these frustrations and problems, how can I solve those things?
Absolutely.
As you solve them, you make money. Every business is solving problems.
Right.
And as you solve problems, you make money. Tell me one business out there who's not solving a problem, and I'll tell you that this business will not last.
Right.
As the more skillful you become in solving the problems, the more money you make.
So that moment was a moment of great opportunity, but it was very few people that took advantage of it. Is that correct?
Somebody heard it. He didn't just stop there. So why can't they make something like this for idiots like myself? Oh, okay. Well, let's make something out there for idiots like yourself. It turned out that he wasn't the only idiot who was looking for help.
Okay.
There are millions of people who are idiots in a particular area. Maybe how to make soup. Maybe how to cook rice. Maybe how to get the food to taste different from what it usually tastes.
Let's talk about business as a problems. Business is solving problems. Let's talk about that. So you did mention that try and listen to what people are saying. If you're a business person, try and listen to what people are saying. Can you say some more on that?
Let me give you an example. When the GIs returned from the war,
Right.
and they wanted the homes, they wanted the nice things in life, and they didn't have cash. Guess what the market did for them? We gave them the ability to buy without cash and make payments. Herein lies the introduction of credit cards and store cards and all those things. There was a problem. They want the things, they just don't have the means to get it. How can we get it to them so they can take their time, they can be paying? And we did like things like store card and like high purchases and things like that. And then we came up with all these things. Okay? Like I said, opportunity is conceived with the mind, not with the eyes. If you're a business, if you are going into business, or if you're in business and you don't listen, you won't survive.
You won't.
You got to listen to what customers, and sometimes we think customers are the person who comes in every day. Those are customers you already have, but the customers you don't have are much more than the ones you have, and we need to lend an ear to the people, the customers we don't have yet, and what they are saying. Okay, so let me give you an example. If you're a restaurant, you're selling rice, cooked rice with maybe stew. Would I be eating rice every day with stew? No. So maybe if I come today, probably won't show up again till Friday or next week. So in between me, how are you going to get your next customer?
Right. You have to have varieties to be able to meet a certain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And maybe even if I'll come in tomorrow, maybe tomorrow I'll come, but I may not want rice. I may want something else. So if the only thing you are selling is rice and stew, well, yesterday I had rice and stew. Today I don't want rice and stew. So then who are you going to sell to? I'm your only customer.
Correct. Okay.
You know.
I want you to talk to a certain group of people. I want you to talk to, foreigners that have come here. I want you to talk to Asian Americans, African Americans, the minority group in general, that have, come up with small businesses and are worried about, how do I grow this business? This business is getting to a point where I feel like I got to close it down. Do I feel like, getting into partnership with somebody? In a nutshell, I know you've said a lot about all of these things, but in a nutshell, put it all together and just speak to somebody who is watching you about all of these things.
Okay. So my answer to the person who's watching, what I'll say to you is that before you close down your doors for good, stop for a minute and ask yourself, have I done everything I can to let somebody see or to open somebody's eye to the fact that I'm here and this is the service that I'm providing? Have you done everything you can to market your business to your target audience? Did you even identify your target audience before you went into the business? Because your business cannot solve every issue out there. You have to ask yourself, who am I selling to? And what am I selling? And the people that I'm selling to, do they like the same way I do things every day? Or they like for it to change? Do they like maybe the packaging to be a little bit different? Maybe the way I provide the service to be a little bit different? What is it that they are saying to me? And listen to what your customers have to say. And once you know what your customers are saying, give them what they want. A few years ago, whatever you put out there in the market, when people come, if they want it, they take it. In those days, people didn't have much choice, so they would take what you have to offer. These days, consumers determine what producers will produce. We tell you what we want. So just because you are selling tie, doesn't mean I have to come and buy the tie. Maybe today I want to wear red tie, but tomorrow I may want to wear, maybe, I don't know, maybe a burgundy tie. I may want to wear green tie. But if all you are selling in red ties, well, guess what? You run me out of your market or out of your business. So bringing in a variety will help you to continue on in business. The other thing is that seriously consider the internet, consider technology as your way of advertising your business and letting people know about you. You may be surprised that the next door, somebody who is next door to your business doesn't even know that you have a business there and what you are selling. But by the internet, they will know. Because, for example, when somebody Google something on the internet, it tells them who is selling what and the miles, how many, the distance from where they are to where your business might be. So maybe I'm looking to buy, let's just say pizza, okay? Your Pizza Hut is maybe 2 miles away from my house. The other one is maybe 17 miles away from my house. Naturally, I'll come to you. But inside my house, I will never know that yours is 2 minutes away from me or 2 miles away from me. You have to begin to think like that for your business to grow. Otherwise, you don't have a prayer. The internet provides you with a great opportunity to advertise your business all over the world. Don't cheat yourself out of leveraging what the internet has to offer. It's a great tool. It's a great way of maximizing your business and growing your business exponentially. And also don't forget alliances. You can't be everything to everyone. The scriptures actually talk about, I've become all things to all men.
Right.
You can't become everything to every business.
Right.
You have to form alliances. Somebody's great at designing a website. Tell them what you want. Tell them your vision. Let them create something that will attract and appeal to your customers. That's the best way to continue to grow your business. I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. So we've been actually, for the past few weeks, we've been journeying on how to start a business, how to grow a business, how to maximize a business. I think our last topic next week, or maybe the coming week, will be now how to maintain the business.
Yeah.
You've got the business, you got it going, you are maximizing. Now, what are some of the things that you have to do to maintain it? We
Absolutely.
talk about social responsibility.
Social responsibility, tax laws, state
right.
and federal tax laws you need to be aware of. For example, you can't just see somebody on the street and say, hey, you would like to work for $40, and they say yes, and then they come in and they work the whole day, and you give them the $40 and they are gone. There are so many tax implications, there are so many legal things to consider, and if you don't do that, you shoot yourself in the foot.
Right.
Because that person who comes in, if anything happens to them, you're liable.
Particularly in recent years, ethical responsibility.
Absolutely.
Because that's what happened with a lot of things that happened during the Obama administration and during the Bush administration. So we're going to take a look at these things the next time we come up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, and viewers, I thank you so much for joining us. Try and join us again next week for how to maintain a business. And I'm still going to have my gentleman to be with us. Thank you. Thank you.
There's a movement afoot. Let's move together! Arthritis is America's most common cause of disability. Walking just 30 minutes a day can ease joint pain, improve mobility, and stop the progression of the disease. Start moving now to prevent and control arthritis. And let's move together to raise funds for a cure. Join the movement and participate in the arthritis walk in your area. Log on to letsmovetogether.org and start moving today.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith. Sports has given me a lot to smile about over the years. But as an athlete and the father of young athletes, I know how important it is to protect yourself from injury. That's why I've teamed up with the American Association of Orthodontists to encourage athletes of all ages to play it safe when it comes to sports. I've seen firsthand how quickly an accident can happen when out on the field, the court, or even the dance floor. And because orthodontists are specialists in helping kids and young adults obtain a healthy, beautiful smile, the last thing they want to see is a patient get injured because they weren't properly equipped. No matter the sport, wearing protective gear like mouth guards, face masks, and helmets can reduce the risk of injury and keep you in the game. Athletic competition brings some of the greatest joys in life. But there's nothing more rewarding than a lifetime of healthy, beautiful smiles. For more information on how you can play it safe, visit braces.org.